we're gonna do some React Andy, guys. All right. Again, I will say again, this is from AbsolvedLive, a guy that plays a shit ton of killers, so I think his opinion will be respectable. 2 times speed.
Is Cole, otherwise known on Twitch as AbsolvedLive, and oftentimes I'll have viewers ask me what I think some of the best killers in the game are, or where I would rank a lot of the killers on my stream based on their potential. First placement I'm going to have to put is definitely the Wraith. I think that he has potential when you run add-ons, but since I'm basing this on killers with no add-ons, no perks, no anything.
Basing it on killers, no add-ons, no perks. A very important distinction that was probably mentioned in the introduction that I skipped anyways.
He's just not very good.
Wraith sucks.
He doesn't have a good chase potential.
Hello.
He just
Wraith
has nothing
sucks.
going for him.
What's up,
really.
Brofist?
But they are buffing him in the upcoming mid-chapter, but it's not really going to change his position at a base tier level.
Yeah.
Next on the tier list, I'm going to have to put the Trapper right next to the Wraith E tier.
What's up,
Trapper
Brofist?
is just one of those killers who is
Did he say crapper?
at a base tier level.
Hold on. Did he say crapper?
On the tier list, I'm going to have to put the Trapper right next to the Wraith in the E tier. Trapper is just one of those killers who is extremely add-on reliant.
He didn't say crapper, man. It's right there, dude. The fruit is hanging so low. Just call him the crapper, dude. Just call him the crapper, please.
To the Wraith, and as an effect of that, without add-ons, he is just so painfully underwhelming, and that's not even factoring in coordinated teams who would typically be keeping notes of where your traps are.
Coordinated teams keeping track of where your traps are.
And most likely deactivating them as well, especially if you have somebody kind of immersing around.
The one thing I will say about Trapper is that, number one, having only 1 trap in your inventory is pretty bad. I think that they should just increase it by 1. Just let him carry 2 traps at base. Like, max number of traps with add-ons stays the same, but at base level you carry 1 more. Every time you talk about balancing the game or killer tier list, or really anybody that's a killer main talks, they always talk about like coordinated teams and Swifts that are using like comms and callouts. That just doesn't happen that often.
Anyway, moving on to the D tier list, I'm going to have to put my first placement as the Shade, and as an effect of playing more variety lately and taking viewer build requests has made me shift my opinion on Myers.
You had to get that plug in.
His early game is laughably bad against competent teams, and with how map-aligned he is in some scenarios, you can have a competent team leaving you still trying to hit tier 2 by the time 2 to 3 gens have popped in some instances.
So sad.
How wonky his stock ability can be at times. Once you get out of tier 1, he then does become your typical run-of-the-mill 115 killer, and he does have a snowballable power once he achieves his tier 3.
Snowballable. I love that word. Snowballable. Yeah, he's going by tiers. So he went through all his E tier killers. Now he's going through D tier, and then he'll move on to C tier.
It can be too little too late, as it mostly depends on the survivors grouping up and making massive mistakes to capitalize with his tier 3, which most groups of better players typically won't do, not even factoring in how map-reliant Myers does tend to be. Just, it's one big concoction of just terrible killer, in my opinion. Moving on to the Plague. The Plague for me is one of those killers that are kind of tricky to place because her power, the Corrupt Purge that she gains from fountains, isn't necessarily the worst in terms of its effect, but it's pretty easily loopable as there's so many caveats to her
some pretty intense music in the background.
Power as well, that it's almost a non-factor in most scenarios. You're actually forced to respect pallets because if you get stunned, your power will deactivate, which literally doesn't occur with Oni, and his power is definitely way better, which is pretty bad design, not even factoring in most of the time people will typically refuse to even use the fountains anyway, which results in you only ever getting 1 power since you spawn in with 1 corrupt fountain, and then never getting another again because
that's all you need.
Teams just refuse to ever cleanse.
That's all you need.
Counterintuitive design, and in my opinion, earns her a spot in the D tier.
But the reason you can get stunned out of her power is because it's so insanely strong. Her power is so strong that you have to put that caveat in there. If she doesn't have to respect pallets and she has her power, then it just like, it becomes literally unplayable. It's like, it becomes out of control. Dami Vami Mommy. Yep. Your favorite. You love her design. She's gorgeous. She's gorgeous. Just unfortunately very boring gameplay wise. Very boring.
Next up, I'm going to be placing the Death Slinger in the C tier, and I know a lot of people on social media don't really like the Death Slinger, I know, and still have games ending around 1 gen or so, and I'm not speaking.
I only 4K with 1 gen left. He's not fast enough for me to 4K with 5 gens left, so he's pretty bad.
From a place of inexperience here either. Alright, so the Ghostface is the next killer going into the C tier. Now, unlike Myers, he doesn't have an absolutely atrocious early game, and his stalking is a lot more consistent in terms of actually registering the stock on survivors when you're looking at them. And I have no idea why they haven't implemented something similar on Myers, because there are times where you're literally looking dead at a survivor with Myers, and it just won't register as a stalk. But that's neither here nor there, as I'm ranking Ghostface now. His power can be very good if nobody on the team
put him on the board.
Chill. Next up is the beautiful hunk of a man known as the Clown. They did relatively recently just buff him, so he no longer moves slower while throwing bottles, which was a nice quality of life. Essentially make it so survivors have to instantly throw every pallet.
They already were like that. They already were like that. His bottles already made you pretty much instantly throw pallets. That was the Clown counterplay, right? When you play against the Clown, you just drop your pallets. You just drop them early. You just drop them early and move on, and then hope that you can get the gens done before you run out of resources.
Because they will not make multiple loops out of a properly placed bottle.
I don't think that Clown should be above Myers. I still don't think Clown should be above Myers.
Which will typically result in survivors insta-throwing pallets and playing very safe, with people playing extremely...
Weird seeing Myers that low. Myers is good, what the fuck? His reasoning was okay. And he's basing these killers off of like no perks and no add-ons. And so having no add-ons hurts Mikey because his add-ons are really strong. And so base Mikey is a little bit different than add-on Mikey. But he's doing this based off of just their base power with no add-ons and no changes, no additions, no nothing. So he thinks that Myers should be there because he's got no map pressure and it takes a while to stalk, I guess. I don't know. I feel like he's stronger than Clown for sure.
Safe, and again, as if I were a broken record.
Probably even
he has absolutely no map mobility.
I don't like punishing all of the killers for not having mobility, right? I feel like mobility should be a positive for the killers that have it. Oni, Hag, Freddy, Billy, Blight. Like just because Billy has a chainsaw and Blight can run really fast, I don't feel like you should penalize all the other killers and be like they're bad because they have no map pressure. I don't think that that's the case. I think being able to pressure the map with like over distance should be a rare but treasured occurrence. I don't think that killers can have the powers as strong as these guys while also being able to traverse the map as easily as Billy, right? Because that is their power. Their power is being able to traverse the map.
Tier list, and it generally has more to do with the nature of her traps. Sometimes you get the trap off immediately on the first box, or sometimes you just barely get it off on the fourth. Sometimes you're completely unable to even get it off, and ultimately
I can always get it off, baby.
End up dying. Her dash itself.
We don't have those kind of issues here. We don't have issues getting it off here.
Lackluster against any competent player as well. Even if her slowdown isn't particularly the greatest, it at the very least requires people to be off gens for at least a minimum of 20 seconds. Who I'm going to put into the B tier column. Now, I personally don't really enjoy the Legion's place.
I am very interested to hear where this conversation goes. Convince me. Convince me that Legion belongs in the B tier. Convince me that Legion is better than Ghostface, Pig, and Mikey. Convince me.
style all that much, I can't really deny that in the right hands, Legion can be absolutely oppressive to play against, with how quickly Legion can get the entire team injured, provided they all group up repeatedly, to even if they don't group up all too much, still providing information via Feral Frenzy as to where somebody else is, which if the Legion is supremely competent, will preserve their power in a way to where they'll be able to use that information they gathered to keep chaining hits on the entire team. It's kind of difficult to explain, but once you get a grasp on the power in Legion, there's quite a few applications that you can then perform. Each time you hit a survivor with your frenzy, I believe it takes them about 12 seconds to mend on top of injuring them, which if you can get off all 4 people being injured as you chase the 4th, provided they don't mend each other, it will take the other 3 a combined 36 seconds minimum of gen progress that now isn't happening as they mend while you chase the 4th, to at least put it in simple terms.
Oh, he's done now. That's the end of Legion. I don't know. I don't understand the logic. His power's not useful in chase at all. His power's good at getting a good first hit, but then it becomes literally useless. There's no variety with the power at all. It's super linear. You use the power to get a hit. That's it. It's not even, the power's not even good enough at like, oh, I need to get to that side of the map quicker. Let me use my power. You can't even use it for that because the cooldown is so long that you barely gain any time at all. And then you compound that with the fact that you can't use your power again once you get there for however long. It's just not worth it. I don't see a way that Legion should be above Death Slinger, Ghostface, Pig, Mikey, or maybe even Plague. I think Legion should be down here. I think Legion should be on D tier. D. No higher than D. You cannot convince me to put him higher than D. You might be able to convince me that he's better than some of these guys, but if you do, then they have to be on D tier too. He's a D tier gamer.
B tier, I am going to be placing the twins here. I actually do really enjoy playing the twins as well, since they're kind of a different play style. They can injure people very quickly on
Peeper.
top of them being pretty good at providing pressure.
I'm glad he left that in. That was nice. Thank you.
Killer in the game that technically allows you to be in 2 different places at the same time.
Yeah, you can be in 2 different places at the same time, which means 80% of twins will chase other people while they're also camping the hook. It's really fun. It's really fun to get camped while the rest of your team is also being chased. It's one of the reasons why I love playing against Hag, because they do the exact same thing.
And they have really great slug potential. But I think Charlotte's power plays into a playstyle very similar to the Hag, in the sense that slugging...
In the sense that you camp the hook without actually being at the hook, and you chase other people in the game while you're also camping the hook. That's a great point, Cole. That's a great point. I don't know where you came up with that, but that's fantastic.
Camping and playing quote-unquote perceivable Hag, in the sense that slugging and camping and playing quote-unquote perceivably scummy...
Quote-unquote perceivably scummy.
Style very similar to the Hag, in the sense that slugging and camping and playing quote-unquote perceivably scummy is one of the main ways that you have extreme 4K potential with her. I feel like small maps like Cold Tower, as an example, are pretty good maps for her, and like most killers, gigantic maps really hinder her, but all around, I do think she does have pretty decent potential.
I don't think that she's very good. Again, I think that both of these should be like C tier gamers, and I think Ghostface should probably be B tier. And I don't even know if I would move anybody else up to B tier. I just think these guys should both be C tier and bump him up, bump the jams. You know what I'm saying? Also, I don't like rating a killer high, because if you play like a fucking asshole, you can do well. Because like, if that's what you want to talk about, man, then there are better killers than the twins at playing like a fucking asshole, and you can do well with all of them if you just play like a fucking asshole. Sorry, I don't mean that. If you play quote unquote perceivably scummy.
We have got the Doctor.
Good. Glad to
He's
see
got a
it.
lot going for him in his base kit. He's got
Yeah, he does.
anti-loop capability with his shock once you start to learn the nuances and the timing. Now, a long time ago, in my opinion, the Huntress used to be significantly better, but as of the last year or so, they've been adding a lot more indoor maps and claustrophobic maps and adding in a lot more random debris and trees and just stuff that makes sniping as Huntress almost completely impossible. On top of no longer being able to throw hatchets over generators, the Huntress has taken quite the pounding lately, but I will...
Does this guy watch Huntress porn? I just want to back it up a little bit. I just want to hear that sentence one more time.
Throw hatchets over generators. The Huntress has taken quite the pounding lately.
Watch that rhetoric, bro.
But I will definitely say she is still a fairly good killer.
Huntress is good.
Like Macmillan and Autohaven.
Back it up a bit.
Over most tiles.
It's just like what did he? Oh no. I don't know, man. The way he emphasized pounding, bro. Do I need to play it again?
The Huntress has taken quite the pounding lately.
Quite the what? Quite the what, bro?
The Huntress has taken quite the pounding lately, but I will definitely say
what,
she's
bro?
still a fairly good killer. And maps like Macmillan and Autohaven, she could play over most tiles. So even if survivors play extremely safe, they can still get pretty punished if the Huntress is skilled enough. She can very easily capitalize on a snowball.
For sure, one of the strongest snowballs in the game. Like you look at people that can maybe snowball better. You're looking at Oni. You're looking at Nurse. That's like pretty much it. And then like maybe Bubba if the survivors are like really bad and he's got add-ons.
However, she is a 110 movement speed killer, so she does lack some mobility, but in the hands of the right type of player with a decent grasp on how to aim hatchets, she can be
AKA people with a crosshair.
Absolutely incredibly deadly.
Kyle!
Pyramid Head, who I'm going to be putting in the B tier, is a killer that when he first came out,
snowballable,
used to kind of be outright BS with his ability. Personally, his ranged attack feels like garbage to use.
It does. His M2 is really gross. The thing with Pyramid Head's M2, man, the aiming is way off. It's gross. It looks bad. It feels bad. It's like usually when you're playing, you have a specific sensitivity that you can aim with and you can move pretty good. But with Pyramid Head, you don't. You're either turning left or you're turning right. So the slightest moving of your mouse, he turns like really sharp. And it's really gross to use. It doesn't feel good at all.
He does have a built-in free tunnel mechanic though. At times it can be a little bit difficult to pull off, but if you do, he also suffers from a lack of map mobility like a lot of other killers in this tier 2. Next up, we've got Leatherface.
I really felt like he was about to say more there.
Next up, we've got Leatherface in the B column.
I'm looking at this and there's a lot of killers left to be S tier and A tier. Maybe it's just me, but I feel like your percentages, you should have like maybe 4 killers or like 5 killers in these 2 spots, right? You should only have like 5 killers here. Like 2 S tier and like 3 A tier, right?
Who about half a year ago or so received some tender loving care because otherwise they will die. But as per usual of a killer in the B
use
column,
Windows. Attention all survivors, if you're playing against a Bubba, just use Windows. He can't use his power around Windows. You don't have to insta-throw every pallet. Just use the window loops. Thank you for this public service announcement.
Suffers from the exact same problem as every other killer. He has no ability whatsoever for traversing the map, so even if you down somebody almost immediately at the beginning of the game, you're still not going to be able to stop the guy from across the map from popping the gen by the time you finally get over there.
How dare a killer not be able to 4K at 5 gens? No, doors are not allowed.
Next up, we're moving on to the A tier. First with the...
What do we got? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8.
The Demogorgon. In my opinion, Demogorgon has one of the most intuitive chasing powers and zoning capabilities in the entire game. Very, very strong.
Yeah, very well-rounded killer. He's got a great power. Shred is fantastic. I love Shred. It's one of my favorite powers in the game. He's got some map mobility. If you can use your portals well. Like the portals are the difference between a good demo and a bad demo. If you play against a great demo, it's because they know how to use portals. Also, any demo who runs save the best for last, you're a pussy.
Next up, we've got the Hag, who in my
the Hag
is kind of slept on in a lot of ways when it comes to her potential.
I don't think she's slept on. I think people don't play her because she's really boring.
The Hag can set up area denial and completely shut down loops by setting up a pretty strong web of traps all around the map. Her terror radius is only 20.
You have to be pretty smart and pretty good at planning to use those traps efficiently. Like, I'm not good enough to play Hag because I don't care enough. I don't put enough thought into the game and where the gens are to be able to place her traps in good spots.
24 meters, so she kind of has the element of surprise in a way too.
Like, Hag is super strong, super oppressive, and like not fun to play against.
We've got the Hillbilly.
Especially good Hags. Good Hags, man, I will just DC. Because it's like, I'm not gonna win this fight, and I don't want to try. It's over. Congratulations. You win. You win the game. Good job.
Now, in my old and outdated tier list, I actually put Billy at a definitive number 3 behind Nurse and Spirit, but...
Alright, so I'm just going to assume that he's putting these in order on A tier, and like they're getting better as he goes through. So this means that he thinks Oni, Freddy, Spirit, Blight, and Nurse are all better than Billy. I don't know if Oni is better. I don't know if Oni's better.
Hillbilly has seen better days as of late. He still
I tried to move this mouse.
has great map traversal.
It's not mine!
Saw, but ever since dedicated servers and the nerf to his base kit Saw, he's just been very worse for wear, playing safe against Billy and pre-throwing every pallet, just sticking to windows, kind of renders him powerless for the most part. But the sheer ability of having
survivors just trying to survive.
Next up is the
Whoa.
Blight. He has pretty crazy map mobility and a pretty good power in terms
Too low.
of chase as well.
Too low. Blight, please, in the chat.
Next up on the list is Oni in A tier, but once Oni gets that one hit that he needs, he can just start snowballing from there, and it's just unmatched by almost any killer in the game.
Okay, if we're talking about base power, no add-ons, no perks, then Oni has no business being that high. Oni has no business being that high. If we're talking no add-ons, no perks, I don't even think he belongs in A tier. I don't even think he belongs up here, right? Like, undoubtedly, Oni's one of the best killers in the game because everybody plays with perks and add-ons. But if you're just playing killers with no perks, no add-ons, Oni has no business being there. Oni should be behind probably at least all 4 of these. Probably, maybe even Bubba. I don't know. I don't know about that, actually. I don't know about Bubba. But he should not, like, no perks, no add-ons, dude, Blight's way better. No perks, no add-ons, Billy's way better. No perks, no add-ons, Hag's better. No perks, no add-ons, Demo's better. They're just better. Because with no perks, he can't snowball, like, unless the survivors are, like, stupid and caught with their pants around their ankles, you're not going to be able to snowball, like, nearly as well. Nearly as well. With no perks, no add-ons. But with perks and add-ons, he's, like, probably probably top 5. He's probably top 5.
Next up, we're going to be talking about Freddy in the A tier.
Fredward.
As strong as Freddy is, he's probably one of the easiest killers to master in the entire game for how outright strong he is. One of the things that makes him the strongest M1 killer in the game is that
he takes no brains to play. Yeah, good point.
Able to teleport.
Teleport. Yeah.
Basically what Clown would be if the Clown was actually
I like this.
He's one of the only killers in the entire game that is actually completely
I like that picture. But yeah, Legion's B tier. We talked about that earlier. Polfwack, he should, like, there's no way you can convince me that Legion goes anywhere above D tier. There's no way. Like, if we wanted to get into like a lengthy conversation about Legion being good enough to be in B tier, I would be down for it. I'd be down to have that discussion and see what sort of points people can bring up about what they like so much about Legion. But a power that is completely useless in chase and completely linear in that you can only use it to get the first hit on an injured survivor. The rest of his kit, he doesn't have anything else in his kit. That's it. His whole kit is to get someone from healthy to injured, and that's the only purpose it serves. At all, ever. He can't be B tier.
Next up in A tier is the Spirit. She has the ability to phase.
I see we're leaving only one killer for the S tier. Okay. That makes sense. I talked earlier about how there shouldn't be this many people for these two tiers, but I see how he's doing it now, where like S tier is the one where it's like, I'm a bad bitch, and then it's like everybody else.
And she can very easily catch survivors off guard.
So this makes sense. Sup, bees?
Very good downing powers.
How are you, brother?
Ability against survivors who find themselves out of position. She can also traverse the map decently enough if you choose to use the power for mobility. And more often than not, there is very little you can do against a good Spirit, and that's all there really is to say about that.
Say it again, homie, for the people in the back.
There is very little you can do against a good Spirit, and that's all
there's really very little you can do against a Spirit. True, true, Cole, I believe.
Absolutely nobody in S tier. It's the nurse. That's all there really is to say, honestly. People who commit their time to master.
That's actually hilarious.
Just demolish your team in 20 seconds. There's very little left to say about that, to be honest.
Oh, should we read the comments? Good video, brother. Okay, dude, I main demo for 6 moths. I ain't amateur here. I see you are really into and want to show game knowledge. We can talk on Discord about DBD, no purble. And one thing, I see demo being very underrated in other content creators' vids. Funny, right? Question mark, period. Love your work already. Cheers. My favorite killer is Leatherface. I've made by far the most 4Ks with him. I definitely agree that his map pressuring isn't the best, but in 1v1 chase, he's a monster. And of course, it's so satisfying when you hit a survivor after a long chase with the chainsaw. My favorite part about playing Leatherface is when I stand 3 feet in front of the hook and don't move until that person dies, and then I move on to the next survivor and chase them and do the same with them. Then there's only one person left, and I just close the hatch and kill them too. Winky face. What a weird comment. Hello, Absolved as well. What does that mean? Opinions? Oh, this is a good one. I can tell from the first 3 words. Opinions are opinions, and I respect them. But if you make a tier list with no add-ons, Hag and Demo can't be A tier. Because Demo's pounced with no rat liver, it's kind of trash, and Hag can be obliterated with no range add-ons. The other thing is Spirit, which should not be on the same tier as Demo. In my opinion, Nurse should be S, and Blight and Spirit should be S-, and Demo and Hag should be lower. I would change other things, but you did a good job explaining your opinion on other killers. I'm thinking about buying any other killer with my cells. Would you recommend Oni, Pyramid Head, Ghostface, or Legion? I already have Spirit and Freddy. Oh, sheesh. This guy's already got Spirit and Freddy, baby. Who else can I be an asshole with? You need Ghostface, man. Dustin, you need Ghostface, brother. I can already tell this guy would love Ghostface. Dustin Tucker, you would love Ghostface, man. Play Ghostface, bring an indoor map offering, and run Devour, Ruin, and Haunted Ground. Yep. With Chewed Pin and Olsen's address book. Yep. That's you, man. You would love that build. Trapper isn't that bad. Oh, Brownie, dude. This poor guy, man. Poor Brownie, man. He's really going through it, man. He's down bad. Should we say something to Brownie? Here, we'll give his comment a like, man. Oh, come on. Look at this guy, man. He's suffering. He's suffering the existence of a bad Trapper main. Demogorgon above Pyramid Head. Personally, for me, I only really put Nurse in a tier of her own because she completely ignores any and all conventional mechanics of the game. Spirit, to a lesser degree, does kind of not play the game, but she still has to play around pallets and tiles. As for Demo, in a way, I'm kind of rating him from my experience of a relatively significant amount of time played on Demogorgon, where I run primarily chase-oriented builds, whereas potential to down isn't hindered if you come across the Obsession, because you can just immediately M2, shred them, and not lose any SBFL stacks on them, or bait his M2 while behind the survivor to bait them trying to dodge so they lose distance to the next tile, or zoning with a shred at their own palace, trip survivors up so they get tripped up at a filler pallet, make attack, less distance. Even without that build, I still feel like you can do a lot more than, say, a Doctor, Leatherface, or Pyramid Head, but at least as far as playing in regular public matches go, this is why I personally put him in my A tier. Agreed! Demogorgon's the worst killer in the game! What should we say? Chat, you guys, here, let's do it. Let's do an experiment, okay? All right? I'm gonna let you guys craft my comment to this video, okay? But you guys can only post one word at a time. And the order in which they show up in my chat box is the order in which I will type them, okay? Video, cap, Pogger, Legion, booty. Video, cap, Pogger, Legion, booty. I'm gonna make one adjustment here and I'm gonna remove the word cap. Video, Pogger, Legion, booty. Tier does not 100. Tier does not 100 flex power. What? Does not flex power. Tier. Period. Comment. Video, Pogger, Legion, booty. Tier does not 100 flex power tier. Woo! Nice. Great job, guys. Fantastic work.